is Kristin McCullin. I am the horticulturist here at Haskell Public Garden, and I wanted to give you a quick tutorial on how to plant your bulbs. So first, thank you so much for supporting our fall fundraiser and bulb sale, and let's get to it. So I have a few different styles, 4 different styles of planting, so you really want to ask yourself what style gardener you are, or you can also mix and match some of these different techniques. So here we are in a formal section. It's a cobble lined bed, it's very geometric, and so that dictates the style of planting we use. We often refer to this in the trade as a soldier style. We use 4 to 6 inches on center. We'll plant them in rows, and then we offset the row to create more of a diamond grid. So this is a way to get a big impact of color and really make a show out of it. So what I first do is I will lay out my bulbs. I have my trusty weeding knife. Some of you may have purchased this from us for our sale. I really love this because it has a measuring tool on here. It's also a sharp tool for digging in bulbs really efficiently. But you can measure your 4 to 6 inch spacing. Just pop them in and do your offset row. So you create that diamond grid. After I've laid this out, I then like to check it out. I'll walk around the bed and just feel out the space and make sure I'm really happy with it, imagining that tulips are going to be up in springtime. As a general rule of thumb, this is probably the #1 question I get is, how deep do I plant my bulbs? And for a while I was always looking them up because I can't really retain numbers like that in my head. So this is an easy rule. So this tulip bulb is 2 inches. You want to just triple that, and that's the depth. So as a rule of thumb, triple the length of your bulb, and that's how deep your hole is. So for this 2-inch Queen of the Night tulip, I would plant it 6 inches. So that way, if you're mixing it up with multiple different bulbs, here we have a 1-inch grape hyacinth bulb. So triple it, that means your hole is going to be 3 inches. So super easy, and again, with this weeding knife, it's helpful to have a measuring tool there so you know, okay, I'm at 6 inches, I'll pop my tulip in there, and after that you want to make it look like you haven't been there. So this is a technique that we constantly use here at Haskell. Just make it look like you haven't been in the garden. Even footprints, again, take your weeding knife, just kind of mix up the soil and make it fresh. One thing that you can do, we have a lot of pressure from critters here, squirrels, mice, voles. We will roll out chicken wire and then take some landscape staples and fix the chicken wire to the ground. I will then put some mulch on top of it so you can't see it in the winter time. But since we aren't getting snow covers like we typically have in the past, we want to make sure that we have a little bit of coverage from those critters and we don't tempt them as much. So first technique, soldier style. Second technique, this is really my favorite technique, is to take a handful of bulbs. You can then throw your bulbs wherever they may land, and then you simply just use the triple rule and dig your bulbs down. So in this case I threw some muscari, so I would go 3 inches down, and just the spacing is wherever they land. That is more of a naturalistic style. That's typically what I do in my home garden. I'm a little bit more casual at home. I don't really want a grid. So my style of planting in my garden beds then dictates the style of bulb planting. So that's your second one. The third style that I like to use is trench planting. So this is a very efficient way if you want to plant 100 bulbs in a half an hour. You can even just take a shovel and dig the trench to your depth that you want. And so in this case, I'm gonna plant a bunch of muscari. Just throw them in there. I will make sure that they're face up. You want your roots down into the ground. And if you don't do that, they will find their way and correct themselves to the light, but this just gives it a little bit more chance. So pot those in. And then again, just reassess that you like the look of it, and then simply cover your hole or your trench. So that's a technique that's really fast. And then lastly, I find a lot of people use this style. This is probably the most popular style, is cluster planting of bulbs. So you might have a section or a space, a void in your garden where you want to give it a little spring color. So I typically plant in odd numbers, as most of us do, 5, 7, 9, etc. And 4 to 6 inch spacing for that real big impact of color. And so I'll make kind of this biomorphic shape. I might do a couple feet over, I might do another cluster. So, and then what you want to do again is just use the triple rule. So triple your bulb length, make your hole, and then again just reassess how it looks and take a step back in your garden. As a really great practice, I like to keep a garden journal, and so I will put my variety and the quantities, my spacing, and my depth too. So then that way, if I really love something, I can recreate it the next year. Or if I had some issues with something, I might go in and just make a note of it. Oftentimes we think we're gonna remember what we did in the fall, and then by springtime, like, what did I plant? Where was that? I typically don't love putting stick tags, but you know, you can just stick a little popsicle stick or whatever you might have handy and try to bury it a little bit. I find that tags can be a little bit tacky in the garden, so the garden journal's a really nice way of just subtly making a note. And then if you really love something 4 years down the road, you could recreate it. And so I have stacks of garden journals throughout the years. So that's a nice safety net. So I hope you have a great time planting all your bulbs, and thank you so much again for supporting our sale. Happy gardening!